Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Shelf of Many Things, where I take a look at independent and small press role-playing games and role-playing game accessories. This time I'm taking a look at an adventure from Stella Gamma Publishing, who were kind enough to send me a review copy, called It Came From the Scriptorium. It is a brief, horror-themed adventure, which this version being for old school essentials, although it is available for other systems. As always, I will take a look at the physical properties of the book, followed by a brief overview of the interior, followed by my thoughts on the product. However, as it is a very brief adventure, I will only lightly touch on the highlights of the contents. Spoilers will be unavoidable with something this short. Written by Ivan Cantero Munoz, the Fictionaut, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correct. It Came From the Scriptorium, clocks in at just around 24 pages, with a color cover, black and white, single column interior, with inline illustrations where necessary, although there are only a few of those. Physically, the soft cover is the print-on-demand book is pretty standard for drive-through RPG processing. It is relatively sturdy for what it is, but it is a small book and is obviously not meant for long-term repeated reference. As far as the writing goes, it is relatively well written, although I did spot several instances of a need for copy editing. Instances of words either being misused or minor typographical errors, not enough to disturb the overall read, but enough to be noticeable. There is also a severe issue regarding the layout of the adventure and how it relates to the included map, but more on that later. Otherwise, the contents are mechanically well arranged, and where stat blocks occur they are pretty straightforward and do not show signs of a lot of errors. As far as actual contents go, there are 9 main sections to this particular adventure. There is an introduction, a background, a section on referees information, the actual adventure key to the Abbey of Saint Asteria, the grand finale after adventure material, NPC lists, minions of the void that describes the enemies, magical and technological items, and then the OGL license, as this is still an OGL product. In more detail, the introduction goes into the premise of the adventure. A barbarian tribe called the Storm Wolf Tribe has found their usual hunting and gathering grounds have become overrun with malformed monstrosities. They track this source to an abbey once used as a vault for dark knowledge, but now something horrible has happened. It then gives the general statement on the adventure being suited for old school essentials, information on the default setting, and a warning as to the horror nature of this adventure and the deadliness of it. It then goes on to information about the author and Stella Gamma Publishing in general. The background section offers a more in-depth explanation of the acts immediately preceding the adventure. It covers the actions of Abbot Marcius, the head of the abbey, who has undertaken a ritual in an attempt to contact Saint Asteria, the champion upon whose remains the abbey was built. It goes on to describe the Storm Wolf Tribe, a semi-nomadic group of people in the area who have noticed a change in the local wildlife. The shaman has told the chieftain to seek out the source of corruption in the abbey. This is followed by a setting overview that details the Brotherhood of the Quill, a group of monks that run the abbey and are responsible for copying texts and keeping knowledge of forbidden dark arts secure. It also covers Saint Asteria, a giantess who fought with the Crusades for the church. It also touches on the Storm Wolf tribe itself, the one who dwells within the void, which serves as the adventure's main antagonist, as well as harassers, which are technological minions of the one who dwells in the void. The next section contains the referee information. It gives the background on the exact events that happened when Abbot Marcius, finding himself given leadership of the monks of Saint Asteria, uncovered a forbidden tome which contained passages about how to contact entities located in distant realms. He decided to seek the soul of Saint Asteria as a way to be rewarded by the High Hierophants. One of the monks, Carolus, refused to take part in the ritual and was thus walled up in a tower of the monastery. Of course, the ritual went wrong, and instead of meeting the soul of the Paladin Asteria, they unleashed the one who dwells in the void. Pretty straightforward, I guess. The actual description of the abbey starts with a map that purports to represent the abbey grounds. It depicts approximately 20 rooms with some sort of either outdoor or underground area. Ordinarily, this would not be an issue, however, it also numbers the rooms, including several that have duplicate numbers, which presents a problem when presenting the rest of the adventure. Keep in mind, some of these numbers are duplicates, which means that even though it describes 20 rooms, there's less than 20 rooms effectively on the map. You'll find out shortly why that's a problem. The room key follows and starts with a simple introductory paragraph that describes the monastery and what happens on its approach. The rooms are then numbered with 20 rooms in all. 20 entries for 20 with duplicate rooms. Each room is given at least a paragraph of a general description mixed with what might be expected to happen within it. These are split into sections. The first 3 rooms are simply the cloister, entrance, and gardens, while the next group of rooms are the monks' cells, followed by the various other supplementary rooms in the monastery. These include the parlor, chapter hall, scriptorium, library, dining room, and kitchen, chapel and confessional, and then there are the outlying buildings. There's the crypt, tower, stables, chicken coop, and pigsties, and smithy. Individually, these rooms bear a variety of encounters. Of these rooms are empty, many of them. Others have a chance of encountering either one of the harassers or one of the existing monks. A couple of these monks are not hostile. More specifically, Brother Carolus is trapped within the tower and has more information on what has happened in the abbey. There's also Claudius, who was slain during the ritual. However, he may appear as a ghost if one uncovers his weapon. One of the hostile encounters includes the machine that keeps the rift from the one that allows the one who dwells within the void to enter into the world. And while this is the thing that needs to be closed in order to complete the adventure, it may not be immediately evident. Various clues to the matter are scattered further throughout the monastery. The grand finale, which I've been sitting on for a little while, details what happens after the rift is closed, or the one who dwells in the void is faced. As a horror adventure, it is not designed for an optimal ending. Rather, cutting off the one who dwells in the void angers the entity which reanimates the skeleton of Saint Asteria, as well as many, many undead, and this then results in a flight from the monastery, or a fight to the death, which can be handled in a number of ways. Relevant NPCs are statted out next in a simplified set of statistics. Each contains the name, relevant ability scores where necessary, followed by a combat block, including the standard fare of hit points, AC, THACO, because this is old school after all, alignment, weapons, and any spells. This is followed by paragraphs that detail the NPC in question. Some of the NPCs don't have stats, since they are deceased at the time of the adventure. The NPCs described are Brother Carolus, Brother Polybius, Brother Claudius, and Brother Bernardus. The Minions of the Void is a set of stats for the unique monsters of this adventure. They're described specters, which are described as spirits of the scholars that died before completing their work. Hooded marauders, or mummified corpses of gnomes and halflings turned to the undead. Harassers are a type of machine from another universe where magic does not exist. The Aberrant Amalgamation is the conglomeration of fused animals from the stables and chicken coops and so on. They're the Void Gargoyles, which are demon-like creatures. Saint Eloi, which is a reanimated and corrupted paladin. Flame Sprite is the fire elemental used in the smithy. In fact, a lot of the creatures in this adventure, there's no stock creatures in this adventure, and a lot of the creatures that are in this adventure are pretty much unique to the particular room they're in. Quartering Tree is an ancient gnarled oak. Void Wights are the skeletal remains of crusaders now reanimated in the service of the void. Those are the ones that come out at the end. Finally, the Skeletal Colossus is the reanimated remains of Saint Asteria. Again, comes out at the end. There's mention the one that dwells in the void is not actually described. Each simply because if you face him, you're not facing a monster, you're facing like a force of nature. Each of the ones that is described is given a set of stat blocks in a format similar to old school essential standard monsters, including the stat block details with old school style statistics, followed by the specific abilities and moves that the creature may make. A section describes the few magical and technological items one may recover or construct within that monastery. There is a repentant resolution, magical flail resembling a cat of nine tails, former weapon of Brother Claudius. The alchemically powered chainsaw and the alchemically powered drill are technological machines that can be constructed to help destroy the various creatures within the monastery. The entire adventure finished out with the open game license, as much of it is published under the classic OGL 1.0. A. Okay. So, all in all, It Came From the Scriptorium is a brief, but actually surprisingly well-designed little adventure. It has elements of mystery and investigation mixed with a sparse roster of powerful and threatening enemies. It touches on elements of cosmic horror mixed with a classical gothic horror. In terms of the setting, I do have the major one issue, and I've mentioned it a couple times so far. Although well written, the individual rooms do not quite match up with the map. In fact, I might go so far as to say that the map is mostly unconnected to the adventure as portrayed. The map is numbered, and clearly some rooms are meant to represent others. However, in many instances, the rooms given bear little to no resemblance to the description in the actual key. Furthermore, some just don't seem to appear, and some appear multiple times. Even, yeah, it's kind of weird. This can be rather irritating if we're trying to run it right out of the box, which I would say it can be simply modified to point rooms to where they most resemble. There are some instances where the rooms, especially outlying style buildings, are not represented on the map at all. Aside from this rather glaring issue, and it is pretty much the thing that gets me on this, I actually like the adventure aside from that. It's just a shame that the included map is so relatively useless. If you want to make your own map, it's actually a really great adventure, and you can really make your own map with the descriptions involved. While the introduction is somewhat confining, pretty much requiring the party to be from a nearby tribe of semi-nomadic, but still somewhat civilized barbarians, think early Dark Ages Europe or middle Dark Ages Europe, it does serve to keep the player characters on track at first. The reference to the greater setting, the Steel Borderlands setting, isn't necessarily required to enjoy the adventure. It simply hints that there is a much larger world building that can be represented in the brief span of 20-some-odd pages. Mechanically, I think the individual encounters are well designed for the atmosphere of the adventure, if not necessarily balanced for parties at that level. But then again, such can't be expected from a horror adventure, especially an old-school horror adventure. You're going to want the party to think every fight is actually a life-or-death fight. And to be avoided where they can. The open-ended conclusion, which has the party being effectively chased and or teleported from the monastery, can lead to a greater campaign arc, and I very much enjoy that. Just be sure that your group realizes it's a horror adventure and it's okay to run, because if they try to fight, they will get overwhelmed. All in all, I believe that It Came From the Scriptorium can be an interesting adventure to start off a greater horror-themed campaign for Old School Essentials, although it is not quite so work-free as I would have hoped. Mostly because of the design flaw with the map and the need to decide where the campaign is going afterwards, although the latter is not a real deal-breaker, as that might be expected anyway. I also believe that the linear intro could be modified to include a broader array of characters, although this would still require some fitting to get outsiders involved into an otherwise very local investigation. I believe that overall it is very well worth the cost, because it is not that costly, if you're into this sort of adventure, and I look forward to seeing more in this particular adventure line. With that, I'm going to wrap things up here. This has been the RPG Crawler with my review of It Came From the Scriptorium. As always, I will leave a link below to where you can pick it up. If you like what you see, remember to leave a like, comment, feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. Now, I'm wondering, I don't have the PDF version of this. Maybe the map is fixed in the PDF or separately available. I don't know. Anyway, until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you are still watching, I would like to take the opportunity to thank my supporters, the top tiers of which are listed on the screen, without whose support I would not have been able to offer the variety of content that I have on this channel throughout the years. If you're feeling particularly generous and would like to join them, you can support the channel. There are a variety of options to do so. I have a Patreon, a Subscribestar, as well as channel memberships enabled. If you are not in a position to contribute, simply leaving a like, a comment, or sharing my videos are all wonderful ways to help the channel grow without spending a dime, and are all greatly appreciated.